Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is William Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. I hope, I pray that you are well this glorious, fantastic. It's going to be Wednesday morning. Got a little chilly last night. It got into the mid 50s late. Low 50s last night here in West Central Florida, which is weird for us in March. I know it's snowing in other parts of the country. I know that it ain't snowing here. As a matter of fact, last week it was in the mid 80s, and in some places in West Central Florida, it was actually in the low 90s. And now, last night it was in the mid 50s or low 50s. No, like Montumbo. No, no, no more cold. I need my vegetables. Um, Went to a fruit stand and we were trying to get some watermelons. And I asked, I know watermelon, but my wife wanted a watermelon, so I went out to try to get her one. But and the guy told me that watermelons were going to be late because last year there was a freeze and killed them all off. So they're waiting to grow them this year to make sure all that nonsense is over, because they can't afford to lose two crops like that, in successive years. So that's how they're doing it. And in Florida, you can get away with it. On growing season, you can actually get away with it. So no watermelons and some other things like watermelons. Blueberries are going to be late for that very same reason. So we need to go ahead and make it warm here in the state of Florida. All right, we got some stories here. DeSantis, Ron DeSantis has signed a death warrant for Louis Bernard Gaskin. We'll take a little bit about that. We talked about yesterday how former President Trump had compared the DeSantis governorship to Charlie Crist, putting them on similar footing. He picked wrong, and that's one of the things he picked wrong. We talked a little bit about a private Christian school in Vermont that forfeited, said, we'll take the L. A girls' basketball game against a team with a dude on it. And they have been banned from participating in upcoming sporting events. We're going to talk about that too. And how, and the name of the school, and how we can support them, and how we should support them in what they're doing here. And the story that is the big story of the week, obviously, are the bank failures, the Silicon Valley and the Signature Bank failures. In my lifetime, there was the savings and loans crisis, and a lot of the savings and loans that went. And before that, it was, of course, the Great Depression, where a lot of banks went. Right. And then 2008, I guess, where we had another, crisis. And here we are again. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I am not trying to bring you fear. I am not trying to bring you panic, because panic is not preparation. Preparation is preparation. Please do not go to the bank and try to get all $15,000 of your money and then tell everybody on your way to the bank that that's what you're going to do, and make sure the same thing too. It'll cause a run, it'll cause a panic, and things will get worse. Now, if you have a few $1,000s to tide you over for the next few months that you need in cash, not such a bad idea. Not such a terrible idea. Don't try to pull out your life savings and buy gold and store it under your house. I'm not sure that that's a good plan. But in any case, we're going to talk about it all a little bit here this morning on the Morning Report. Again, my name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. We'll be back right after these messages. In an AP story, a man convicted of killing a couple in Florida in 1989 is scheduled to be executed next month after Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signed a death warrant yesterday on Monday. I was going to say yesterday, but it was actually Monday. Louis Bernard Gaskin, who is now 56 years old, was convicted of first-degree murder for the killing of Robert and Georgette Sternfels on December 20th in 1989 in their home in Flagler County. He was also convicted of armed robbery, burglary, and attempting to murder another couple who resided nearby that same night. He was dubbed the Ninja Killer for wearing an all-black ninja clothing during his crimes. Gaskin shot the victims with a .22 caliber rifle. Items he stole from the Sternfels' house was a clock, 2 lamps, and a video cassette recorder, a VCR, were found at his residence. He intended to give the items to his girlfriend for Christmas. Okay, so he stole a clock, a couple of lamps, and a VCR, and he was going to give them to his girlfriend for Christmas. Gaskin confessed to the crimes, and he told a psychologist ahead of his trial that he was aware of what he was doing. This dude's not trying to plead insanity. As a matter of fact, just the opposite. He says the guilt was always there. Gaskin said at the time, the devil had more of a hold than God did. I knew that I was wrong. I wasn't insane. In 1990s, jurors voted 8-4 to recommend the death sentence, and the sentence the judge accepted. Under Florida's current law, it needs to be a unanimous jury vote that's required for capital punishment. Now, however, the state legislature is considering lowering that threshold. Gaskin has filed numerous appeals since his sentencing, but by 2020, the Florida Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court had created a path for his death warrant to be signed. Attorney General Ashley Moody said in court documents. The execution is scheduled for April 12th at 6 p.m. According to DeSantis' office, this would be the second execution in Florida this year, after a pause on capital punishment dating back to 2019 was resumed. Gaskin's execution will be just the fourth under DeSantis, a much slower rate than was the case under other recent Florida governors. Because in Florida's like Texas. If you get convicted of murder, you kill somebody, we will kill you back. The state Supreme Court briefing schedule states that all filings in any new Gaskin appeals must be completed by March 31st, so in 16 days. 16 days. That's what's happening in Florida. I think that maybe I will do a Florida story every show. Would you like that? Write that down in the comments. So let's sort of give you an idea of what's going on, other than some bizarre Florida man story where, a grown man grabs a baby alligator and pulls a puppy out of his mouth. And then you guys around the country go, wow, Florida man wrestling gators. Ugh. Something else other than that. What do you think? What do you think? Write it down in the comments. All right. I'm going to take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after these messages. Well, hey everybody, my name is Willie Lawson, and you guys know that I do a lot of stuff on the internet. And you may think with what's happening on Twitter and what's happening on Facebook and what happened to Parler that the mainstream social media sources are really trying to rid themselves of conservative voices. And you'd be right. They most certainly are. But you know what? It isn't as bad as you think it is. It's worse. But there are people who are willing to be platformed for free speech. One of those places is freedomforum.website. Freedomforum.website. You can go there and speak your mind. So come join us. Enjoy the freedom. Enjoy the fun. If you are a true blue conservative, small businesses are near and dear to your heart. They are the lifeblood of our life and economy. I believe this, and that's why my florist is not a website or phone number. My florist is Blooming Days Flower Shop, Tampa's premier flower shop. At 11618 North Florida Avenue here in Tampa, Florida, and at 6835 State Road 54 in Newport Richey. Call Christine at 813-933-1942 and at 727-232-6900. She can also be reached on the web at www.bloomingdays.com. One of the things that I get asked most is where can I get information that is not tainted with liberal bias, especially here in the Tampa Bay area. Well, now I have the answer. tbctampa.com, a website by and for Tampa area conservatives. Tampa's leading conservative voices speak freely at tbctampa.com. And you can too. So join the fun and enjoy the freedom at tbctampa.com. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is the Morning Report. All right, welcome back. So if you thought today was going to be a great market day, okay, you're either on crack or you're so incredibly wealthy that you can absorb the losses. if you were deep in financial stocks. The closure of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank has many people on edge since a lot of people are afraid of a domino effect. And that's what normally happens. The Silicon Valley Bank, which had no risk assessment officer for 8 months, 8 months, um, collapsed over the weekend, hastened by the institution's announcement to raise capital to cover massive losses it took with a fluctuating tech market. SVP is a go-to bank for loans for fledgling startups. Not anymore. That news triggered a panic, a run, and now California officials have taken over and given the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation the reins. Signature Bank, which is a cryptocurrency operation, was shuttered over systemic risk concerns. Here's what was said. U.S. regulators on Sunday shut down the New York-based Signature Bank, a big lender in the crypto industry, in a bid to prevent the spreading banking crisis. We are also announcing a similar systemic risk exception for Signature Bank, New York, New York, which was closed today. That was Sunday, I guess, by its state chartering authority, the Treasury Department, Federal Reserve, and Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. They all said in a joint statement Sunday evening. Banking regulators said the depositors at Signature Bank will have full access to their deposits, a move similar to that was made to ensure depositors at failed Silicon Valley Bank would get their money back. All depositors in this institution were made whole. As with the resolution of Silicon Bank, no losses will be borne by the taxpayer, the regulator said. The regulators shuttered Silicon Valley Bank on Friday and seized its deposits in the largest U.S. banking failure since the 2008 financial crisis, and the second largest ever. The dramatic move comes just days after the tech-focused institution reported it was struggling, triggering a run on the bank deposits. Signature is one of the main banks of the cryptocurrency industry, the biggest one next to Silvergate, which announced its impending liquidation last week. It had all the market value of $4.4 billion of Friday after a 40% sell-off this year, according to FactSet. Yeah, what they're planning on doing is using what they said they were going to do is using a fund that the banks pay into and using that fund to repair and make all the depositors whole. So what they're actually doing is when the bank screws up, they don't want the bank or the bank officials or whatever to take the fall. We're still in the too big to fail thing. We're still protecting the institution. Silicon Valley Bank's collapse was the second largest in bank failure in U.S. history, and the damage may not be done. For now, Monday's bank stocks took a brutal walloping. Not even Joe Biden's assurance to do whatever was needed was enough to shore up the system. Shares in First Republic and several other U.S. regional banks plunged on Monday as investors worried that regulators had not done enough to stem deposit outflows following the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. First Republic was down by two-thirds, 66%. In early afternoon trading in New York have fallen as much as 75% this morning, while trading in its shares and those of several other lenders were halted multiple times due to volatility. Investors dumped the bank stocks even after the Federal Reserve and Treasury boosted lenders' access to quick cash following the government's takeover of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Arizona headquarter Western Alliance Bank was down about 60%, while shares of LA-based PacWest and Utah's Zions dropped by roughly a quarter. Of the 124 listed U.S. banks with a market value of $5 billion or less as of Friday, more than 100 of the 124 were in the red. Monday's sell-off was driven in part by fears that other regional banks could see a run by depositors similar to the one that brought down Silicon Valley Bank, especially by clients with balances over $250,000. That's covered by federal insurance. The reality is that all kinds of market participants are nervous, says Maya Rodriguez, a regulatory consultant. Everyone is wondering, what if I have assets at Bank A or B or C? They tell us that it's not over. They tell us to expect more pain tomorrow. We'll see. Well, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody. And for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye bye now.